Hi, I'm going to present you my Wine API. First of all, I'll show you how it works on Postman. I'm going to start with the roots, getting data from the third APIs. The first root returns an array of dish objects, resulting of a search for a particular dish or ingredient. The second root returns an array of wine bottle objects available for purchase for a particular type and wine name. The next root returns a wine object coming from the previous root, but with all its details. The next root returns an array of wine objects with all their details for a particular wine name and all types. The last root returns the wine pairing for a particular dish and all the wine bottles available for purchase for each wine. All the data coming from the third APIs are coming from two different websites by doing screen scraping. I'm going to show you now the favorite feature. To use it, the user has to create an account first. To do that, I post my information with the create user root. This sends back the created user. I use a basic authentication on all the favorite roots. Now I need to log in with the right username and password to add the pairing favorite. Otherwise, it sends me an error back. When I post the pairing object, it adds it to the favorite pairings and returns it. I can read all the favorite pairings by using the get method. That returns an object with an array of all the favorite pairings of the user. I can add favorite wines by following the same steps but with different requests. I also use the basic authentication to read, update and delete a user. If we try to read the user, we will get his informations but also all his favorites. My database is a Mongo database hosted on MLab with 3 collections, one for the user and the other 2 for the favorites. The user is able to delete any favorites. For this example, we're gonna delete a favorite pairing. Deleting a favorite pairing or a favorite wine uses the same steps. When we read the user again, we can see that the favorite pairing was deleted. The user can update his informations, for example his age, email or password. Since we changed the password, we need to update the authentication. As you can see, when we read the user, the information is updated. A user can also be deleted. When a user is deleted, it also deletes all his favorites. So now I'm going to talk about my code. So here is the package.json, and you can see on the left the architecture of the app. The first thing that I'm going to show you is the modules, and here is the authentication module. One function is checking the header, another one is hashing the password, and another one is checking the password. The dish module is doing screen scraping for the results of a particular dish search. In the MongoDB module, there are all the functions that interact with the MongoDB database using the schema and Mongo's functions. For example, in the add user account function, I'm using a promise to resolve the user or to reject an error from the database when it saves the user. In the pairing module, the matching function returns a promise resolving with the dish information and its wine pairings. In the wine module, the getInfo function screen scrapes all the basics information of the results of a wine search for a particular type, and the getDetail function screen scrapes a description page and get all the details of a wine bottle. The schema connects to the database thanks to Mongoose, and it's composed of 3 schema: the user schema, the favorite pairing schema, and the favorite wine schema. Between my modules, there are no dependencies. It's my app model that makes all the dependency needed. In this model, all the exported functions returns a callback to a root in the index file. I'm using the login function in each function that needs an authentication for the user. The login function returns a new promise resolving with the user if he's allowed to log in. In the index file, there are all the routes that I showed you in Postman before. For example, the routes to get data from the third APIs, the routes to get the user CRUD, and the routes for the favorites CRUD. It's in this file that I create the server by using the Restify module. It's in the spec folder that is located all the JS file for the tests. When I run my tests, I have 84 tests that runs in about 2.3 seconds. And now the test coverage. I nearly have a full test coverage. The only part of the code where I didn't manage to make tests is in the MongoDB module. I'm having trouble making the database return an error when I use the mongoose function on the schema. My code contains no linting errors or warning, as you can see. The code is also fully documented with JS docs. When I generate the JS doc, it generates an HTML file with all the documentation of the app module in the global category, and after all the documentation of all the modules, different modules in the module category. So you can see the authentication module, the dish module, the MongoDB module, the pairing, and the wine module. The API has also her own documentation. When I generate the API doc, you can see that it generates a HTML file with the documentation of every route we talked about earlier. We can see the third API routes, the user CRUD routes, and the favorite CRUD routes. Since the beginning of the project, I made great use of the Git repository on GitLab. I did regular commits and I used branches and merged them. I hope you will enjoy the app, and thanks for watching.